Hello everyone and welcome back. As you can see, I'm not yet on the Lords of Magic content, and as said in the short, I'm working on more stuff with the scales. This is the final product that I mentioned in my short video, and we're diving right in. As you can see, I've used the scales that I used for the veil as well. They are rescaled, haha, good joke, for the next pieces, so these are bigger than the ones from the veil, and the ones at the second part are even more resized to just have less parts and ease the use of my CPU a bit. Because this render, or the renders I did with these parts, actually brought my PC to its limits. I started with the edge on the top, which is a simple tube that I made and thickened. This is the one from the last video as well. And then I put the first row, or the first two rows of scales around the neck, and I'm currently working on the third. This is just really the copy pasting part that you know and probably don't love, but this is how I went on with this. The most difficult part was actually hiding the holes in the scales, which I put on the bottom side of the whole mesh. So I could have just closed the holes, but I decided to let them in so that I have a good limit, or that I could have a good visual representation of how close these scales actually are to each other, and that I have a good indicator of how close everything isn't, if you can look in between or not. So this was also helping me getting this mesh nice and actually realistic for scales. It's obviously not realistic armor. This is an accessory in all cases. This is accessory. This is not armor. It's not meant to be armor. The character that I'm using this for isn't wearing armor. It's a D&D 5th edition monk, and their prevalent feature is not wearing any armor or shields. As you can see, I copy pasted the left or the right side of the neck to the left side, and I'm working on the shoulders next. I didn't go fully around the shoulders. Instead, I just made this on half the on the top half on the top part of the shoulder, and this is also not very long because I wanted to avoid the issue that when I move the arm, that the mesh gets strongly distorted. So the bigger and more intense I make the mesh, the more distorted it actually gets. The next part is very interesting. I decided, or I wanted to connect the neck and the shoulder parts, and my first idea was to make a connection in the line of the actual scales, but this didn't work out that well, and I decided to for a different way. I pulled the line, or this tube with the extrude tool, through all the hoops, so that it goes one time around the arm, fixing basically the top the topmost scales in place. And then I decided to have a second line which has scales on the front and the back. This was my first finished design. And we're actually coming close to part 2 of the first mesh that I make. So we're having 2 meshes today, as you may have seen on the thumbnail, if the scantily clad lady didn't distract you too much. And yeah, this was basically the first mesh that I did, the first idea that I did. And when I finished the render, I decided, okay, this isn't, there's this detail missing, and I decided to add some more scales, at least on the front of the shoulder, without adding too much. And this proved quite complex, because the most problematic part of this was actually having a good angle to see how much the scales stand out, because at some point I actually had the scales almost not vertical on the body, but sticking really far outside. So there is a lot of movement and changing the camera angle, changing the viewport, so that I can actually see what I'm working on. And you can see that again I'm working with the hiding all the holes that I put in this, which will become a topic later on. And here we come to the second part, the scale based loincloth. As you can see, I've put the drow clothing that I use inside of this, and you guessed it, this is for my draw character. She's getting her fighter subclass, and I decided I want to show this off in the actual render that I made of her, or that I'm making of her. So I went for this. This was also a good practice in actually seeing if how I can use, or how I can work with scale male models, because this was also a topic when I did the male elven armor for Lords of Magic. And I will probably revisit that either with this technique or with the technique that I developed in the short, which I have shown you. The first interesting thing is that I made a very simple belt out of chain parts that I just tilted or tweaked a little bit, so that they hold onto each other without having 2 different parts. And this proved quite complex, because, or this proved a complex problem, because now I couldn't just tack these scales onto them easily. Instead I had to move this around quite a bit and make sure this works and this is fixed, so that it doesn't look completely weird or disconnected. And this part has 2, this clothing part has 2 parts as well. I've did a render of this, and then decided that I have to add some small features as well. And you can also see how I worked with the holes here on the loincloth part. So I just copied one of the loops that I used, one of the hoops that I used, my bad, and changed it and scaled it up so it works quite well with the rest of this whole thing. Also, the back is basically just simply copy pasting the front, and interestingly enough, I didn't have to adapt the top of this at all. This was really symmetrical from front to back, which was a good thing. After rendering this as well, I decided, okay, I want to have some scales on the side of the body, on the left and the right. And this is the last part that we're doing right here. Just simply adding more scales to the side, and this is also then at the end copy pasted from the right side of the body to the left one. So yeah, this is a lot of simple pieces in detail, and this was quite the thing to do, and it was a lot of fun. Thank Maestro for the great music that he provides me, so I can add this to my renders, and thank everyone for watching. If you like my videos, consider subscribing to the channel for more. This time we have 2 different renders at the end, basically just color swap versions. So thank you all for watching, and hopefully see you guys around.